Well, before others join, I quickly want you to introduce yourself by telling your name, from which part of the globe you're attending the session. If you're IT, how many years of experience you have in IT? If not, you can just mention non-IT. Great. Since we have very few people in the room, we can get started, guys. You can, Aarti, if you can get started, that would be great. Or Pawan, yeah, Pawan, that would be great. Yeah, Pawan, go ahead. Okay, Pawan, we couldn't hear you. Aarti, you can get started.
Hello, good evening all. I am Aarti Chattoy. I have overall 5 years of experience in manual testing part,
Okay.
and actually I am working now in a MNC.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, actually I am doing there in manual part only. I am working there.
Okay, okay. You're a manual tester for past 6 years.
Yes, sometimes we will do the automation testing like Selenium and Java, but
Mm,
for better knowledge, I am looking
okay,
for the courses. I do the courses.
great, great.
That's all about me.
Thank you. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah, Dilshad, Kalyan.
Hi all, I'm Dilshad. Actually, I'm working as a test engineer from since like past 6 years.
Great.
So mostly into manual, and currently I'm in automation project. Like we do is playwright with Java,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a project coming like for a API also. It's in GraphQL. So I thought I will just get some knowledge
Mm-hmm.
about this. That's why I joined here.
Okay, great. Yeah, next. Couple more, last two, three, and we can get started with the demo.
Hi Rahul, Shweta here.
Hi. Hi, Shweta.
Hey, I'm currently working as a QA analyst in the healthcare domain based in US with around 4 years of experience in functional testing. And
Great.
the current role, we are using Postman mainly for the basic API testing.
Great.
And I'm here to deepen my understanding and learn how to use it more effectively to validate the real world scenarios.
Okay, great.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi,
So,
Rahul.
last.
Pawan here.
So, Pawan, we couldn't hear you, and I request you to drop a message in the chat box.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, maybe my
Oh,
audio.
now I'm able to hear you. Tell me.
Yeah, actually, like I have around 8 years of experience in IT, but not into like development or testing. I'm OS admin. So
Mm-hmm.
now I want to upskill and change my domain
Mm-hmm.
from for testing side.
Okay, great.
I have a basic knowledge of testing, and now I'm trying to
Mm.
learn automation also. Yeah,
Okay, great.
thank you.
Mm. Okay then. So for the
Hi,
people
Rahul.
who, yeah, we know each other. Yeah, but still
All
you
right,
can go
okay.
ahead.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, myself Praveen. So yes, I've got nearly 13 years of experience, and I'm working in IT. So working as a lead software tester, and basically into the network automation. So yeah, so just planning to switch to automation and API testing. So especially with the web-based automation. So yeah, so planning to switch. So just like trying to put myself into the learning and develop a lot with the automation, especially with the REST API and Selenium. Yeah, that's it from me. And yeah, myself and Rahul, we know each other. So and I've been taking his class last year, and due to some personal reasons, yeah, couldn't I've completed the case, but I couldn't go through the recordings, and I couldn't sit for myself just because of my commitments. Yeah, just planning to repeat the sessions. So yeah, so that I can gain a lot of knowledge from Rahul and the rest of the teammates. Yeah.
Thank you, Praveen. So let's get started. And rest of the people, you can quickly drop in your introductions in the chat box. I will look at in the chat box. I hope my screen is visible, everyone. Right? Great. So this is a commonly asked question. Now I don't want to jump in what is automation testing. I don't want to give you some statistics or some nice statistic story or something like that. I'm not interested in that. Now, the question to everyone who are attended here is why automation testing is important? Why automation testing is important? Can you quickly tell in 1 or 2 lines? Yeah.
Yeah, so to reduce the manual effort.
Okay, to reduce the manual effort. And what else?
Time saving.
Sorry?
Time saving.
Time saving. Yes. What else? One more. One more. Shimal.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. If you don't know, that's fine. Nothing pressure. Yes. What else, guys? Why automation testing is so important? If you feel the points are repeated, also still we can share the view. Yeah. Why do you believe automation testing is important?
Effective in terms of speed and also with the
Okay.
time.
Great, great, great,
Regression testing purpose we will use most of time. Some regression testing is needed. That's why.
great.
Just to reduce the repetition of the same task doing by manually, and also in terms of the quality and error wise, there might be chance of missing a human errors when you're doing manually. So while you are
Okay. Great,
And it helps in quick feedback and fast release cycles as well.
great, great, great. So, what is now, if you see this infographic image, what is the life of a tester who has only manual knowledge versus the life of a person who mixes both automation versus manual? So, my inferences is manual tester has to spend a lot of man hours in testing the application. Parallelly, also, he has to prepare the documentation, the evidences, the screenshots, all the information which are required for the test case. Got it? He has to spend a lot of time. He has to prepare the reports for the stakeholder. He has to prepare the evidences. They have to prepare a lot of things, blah blah blah, and all, which may take some time, which will take a lot of time when the application approaches the go live date. Whereas a person with automation who has implemented automation in their project, what will happen? The regular regression activities, the regular smoke relay activities, the regular activities, the redundant activities, whatever is there, that will be done by the automation suite. And as manual testers, we can sit back, focus on the scenarios which are prone to throwing more bugs. We can test the border scenarios. We can do some other sort of exploratory testing and see how the application is behaving in the corner scenarios and the edge scenarios. And you can be more creative as a tester. What do you mean by being creative? Your focus will not be on executing the test cases continuously. Your focus as a tester would be on finding more, understanding the application better, writing more and more scenarios, writing more and more edge scenarios so that application is correct as application is delivered properly to the client. Is this clear, everyone? How many of you agree with me on this, with this image?
Yes. Agree, Rahul.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what, yeah. So what's next? So what are the advantages of automation testing? Test cases perform precisely the same set of operations each time they are run, thereby eliminating human error. Meaning what? We run the same test case each time. The beauty of automation is whatever operations, whatever set of code that you have designed, they run the same set of operations even if you trigger it for 100 times, 10,000 times or something like that, thereby eliminating human error. What do you mean by repeatability? Enabling the capability to test how the software reacts under repeated execution of the same operation. Now, if you have a payment gateway API, now we are trying to make a payment. Now we are trying to make a payment for a different accounts at different time zones or different payment, you're trying to make some 1,000 payments to the customer. So we will check how the API is behaving under repeated set of executions. When you say comprehensiveness, it provides the ability to build a suite of tests that covers each and every feature in your application. That means what? When you're doing any API testing, we have a lot of endpoints, a lot of APIs to validate, to check whether the functionality is working properly or not. So we can cover each and every feature in your application. Like we can cover the endpoints of one module, we can cover the endpoints of other modules. So we can cover the endpoints of all the modules so that we can cover each and every feature of your application. Reusability. Suppose if the API is deployed on a previous version, suppose if the API new version of API is deployed. Now there are some issues in the new version of API. Now we are going back to the previous version of API. Even though the releases, even though when we are running our automation suites on different releases of the API or the backend, the code, our automation code remains the same. Because as a test engineer, as a QA analyst, as a QA senior QA person, our job is to validate the business part of the API. Our job is to validate the business of the application. What happens in the UI doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, whatever release is there, it's my responsibility to run the test cases and deliver the output, how many pass, fail, skip, or something like that. Clear? What do you mean by programmability? Provides the ability to program sophisticated tests that bring out hidden information from the application. So sometimes when we do API testing, so we might test only the positive scenarios manually, but we might not test the negative scenarios or the incorrect scenarios or the empty payload scenario, something like that. So when you're testing the code, suppose if the wrong status code is being printed, or if the wrong error message is being printed, or if the when you're trying to send those weird kind of request, if you are getting some 500 error or something like that, which should not come ideally, then also it will bring out a lot of hidden information from the APIs from the application. And automation tools run significantly faster than the manual process. That means what? The moment you go for a cup of tea or coffee, the execution will be completed, and by the time you come back, it will be ready with the report. Clear? I hope this is clear, everyone.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Clear? Any doubts so far? All good?
Recording in progress.
Yeah. Great. So these are the two terminologies that we need to understand: better quality software and cost reduction. So these two words are something that is eye-catching for any project manager. That is why automation testing is gaining a lot of popularity. What are these two words? Better quality software, cost reduction. That means what? You can run more test cases in less time with reduced team size. This is one of the eye-catching point for any project manager, because your ability to run more tasks in less amount of time with reduced number of people, that is something project managers always value for, because their agenda is to deliver a quality project with less number of people. When less number of people in the working in the project, it leads to a cost reduction. That means results of reduced team size. Lesser the team size, lesser the cost reduction. Clear? Is this clear, everyone? Why automation testing is gaining a lot of importance? Forget about the first 6 points. The last 2 points: better quality software, cost reduction. These 2 points are something that every project manager, every service man, delivery director will always look at it. If we can do more tasks in less amount of time with less number of people, that means that is worth investing for them. I hope this is clear. Yes or no, guys?
Yes,
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Sir,
Yeah, tell me.
sir, no, even though it will help in cost reduction, but manual testing, can it be replaced 100% by automation?
No. That is not at all possible. Am strictly against to it stating that automation testing replaces manual testing. Always remember the fact that automation testing enhances the testing process. I use the word better quality software. That's it. It is here to enhance your testing process. It is not here to replace your manual process. We need a combination of manual automation in any kind of a project in the current market. I hope I have answered you, Rahul.
Yes, sir.
So what do you mean by the other features? Like what are the other advantages of automation testing? Wider test coverage. That means the scope to create a large number of complex automated tests along with their executions repeatedly over a period of time. That means what? Scope to create a large number of complex automated tests. That means what? We can automate a lot of complex API endpoints. Like from one endpoint you get the data, from another endpoint you have to pass the data to another endpoint. Like if you want to chain all the different multiple endpoints, which is a complex process for a manual tester, with automation that part becomes very easy. What is effective test management? Enables a test to be traced, updated, and reused in the future to cover and execute when there are similar requirements and functionalities. So what is happening here? Enables test to be traced and updated. That means what? If we have to do the same endpoint testing for a different application with the same set of requirements, but small slight changes in the business. So we need not write the automation suite again from the scratch. Same automation suite can be run there. Whatever issues are there, we have to report the issues and we have to fix it accordingly. Resource optimization frees testing resources from execution of software bills. So what happens when every night you get a bill from the developer team stating that we have released a new bill, we have released a new bill, and making ourselves available in the midnight times is somewhat a very bad choice, because one midnight is fine, two midnights still fine to work. After that, we will be so vexed up stating that, hey, I'm not in a mood to do work in the night times. I'm not ready to do overtime, doing the same smoke test all the time. That is where automation testing will come into picture. That is where after the code is deployed, then it will start triggering the automation test suite and it will tell us how many test cases pass, fail, skip, or something like that. Clear? I hope this is clear, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
quick one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you see this graph, we are discussing about number of man-hours we generally spend for regression testing, partial regression testing, sanity, smoke. If you see number of man-hours that we spend, if we want to test a full regression of 1,000 test cases is not only about testing. You need to document the evidence. If there is a bug, you need to find, you need to make a note of the root cause, and you need to design a RCA also. It's not only about testing. We need to do the reporting. We need to provide a detailed information about what kind of payload you are sending, what kind of output we are getting. It is very difficult to test for 1,000 scenarios. It's very difficult in the current testing market to dedicate 160 man hours for a regression. The max to max you get it is only 2 days or 3 days to do the complete regression. Yes or no, guys? And how many of your companies are saying that whatever regression suit is there, I needed to get it done in max 2 days? Is this a situation in any of your organizations?
Yes. Yes.
So, in order to tackle these kind of challenges, we need to introduce a bit of automation, and we need to introduce automation that will save a lot of man hours, a lot of time. And as a tester, you will focus on finding more defects, more bugs which are not covered by automation testing. Clear?
Yes.
Great. Now, before we jump into any automation topic or anything, what are the top 5 lessons on test automation that you need to know? First rule, never automate a mess. Don't automate a mess of it. Have a clear understanding of what you want to automate, then only you start scripting for it. Okay. Second thing, avoid writing complex logic in your scripts. Write the necessary business logic in your scripts. Don't write unnecessary logic in your scripts. 100% automation is not feasible. But I would like to take an exception in API stating that 100% automation is possible for API testing. For UI testing, 100% automation is not possible. But for an API testing, 100% automation is absolutely possible. Okay. And fourth thing, beware of automation engineers who don't understand the concepts of testing, like what is smoke, what is sprint, What is backlog? What is product backlog? What is design backlog? What are the different terminologies of testing? If they don't understand, just beware of this. Fifth one, test automation is a software development process. What do you mean by software development process? We also write a code, we also build a framework, we also design things, we also analyze things. The sad part is no one is there to test our code. For developers, we are there to test their code when we are there to report the bugs. But for testers, for a test automation engineer, we have to find the issues, we have to fix it, and parallelly, we have to do the application testing also. So always remember that test automation is not something like a magic wand that you have in Harry Potter or something like a magic show. We are also a part of software development process. We also take some time to build the code. We also take some time to build a robust framework, robust design, and all the stuff. Clear? I hope this is clear. Any doubts?
Clear.
So before we jump into the further points, I just want to ensure the 5 lessons on test automation testing that we all need to remember for sure. Not only know across your whole career, whenever you're doing automation testing, these are the 5 things that we all need to remember. Management is always there to pressurize us that hey, we need a very rapid automation framework which will test the application in a flash. But that's not going to happen in a week or 10 days. You need a lot of analysis, a lot of review, and a lot of things that are happening. Got it?
Sir, it means that all the test cases can't be automated, right?
Okay, with respect to API, we can automate all the test cases. Got it?
Okay, sir. Means in case of UI, I think that is not
UI,
possible.
100% automation is not at all possible. The max to max you can do is 80%.
Yes.
API, we have the possibility of automating all the APIs. No doubt about it. But for UI, 100% automation is not at all possible. Okay. Now, if you see this cost, this is something you might wonder, why Rahul, why are you showing this cost graph? Well, guys, as every QA person, we need to know, we need to have an understanding of how the cost is spent on the testing department. Based on that, only your hikes will be there. Based on that, only the project, you'll understand how the project is going forward. Based on that, only you'll understand how your career is going to shape in this project. Got it? So if you see here, initially it looks like manual testing is taking a lot of less amount of cost and less amount of time to finish the execution of the test case. But if you see as the time progresses, as the number of bills keeps on getting more and more, and as the project approaches go live, what happens? More and more time will, more and more man hours will be taken out. We will tend to add people from different projects so that they will help us ensure that the application is properly deployed, no major defects, no functional leakage. We tend to add more man hours. More man hours means more amount of money that we are spending for the project. Whereas with automation testing, initially it looks like, hey, we are investing a lot of money and time on this. Do you think it is gonna work out for me? At a first glance, it is absolutely not. But during the long run of the software, it will be a difficult one. Clear? Clear?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Any doubts? Any doubts? Can you go ahead? Great. So this part is something that we need to understand because most of the companies they say like some companies still are there. They'll be like, hey, automation testing is something more time consuming than a manual process. We need to help them educate that during the long run, it is very beneficial. At the start, you might not believe that hey, this is not something that is gonna be suitable for my project. Clear? Any doubts, guys, so far in this? Can we go on with the next one?
Yes.
So Once everyone is clear, let me go to the next topic, that is about the course plan. What are the different topics that we are going to cover here? Just give me a moment, the slide is loading. And I request not to annotate, guys, please. Okay, so the first step of our course is the core Java fundamentals. What are the different core Java topics that we are covering here? So we'll be starting with what is variable declarations, what are the different string functions, string builder, string buffer, the conditional statements, the looping statements, the while, do while, for each, the constructors, the method declarations, the switch case, the enums. We'll be discussing all these things in detail. We are not just talking, we are just not explaining for the sake of saying. We will explain each and every topic in detail about what is variable, what is string, what is switch, what is method declaration, where to visit, what could be the right use case, and all those things. Then we discuss about arrays and collections, which is super important. What is 1D array? What is 2D array? What is 3D array? Why arrays has come into picture? What is list? What is array? What are the different components in the list? List, set, map, DQ, sequence collections, queues, and more. What are the different kinds of collections are there in Java? We will discuss all of this because there are some collections which are useful from a Selenium point of view. There are some collections which are useful from an interview point of view. Like for example, if you talk about stacks and queues, these are something that sometimes when you're applying for a SDET role, they might ask you like, how do you solve this kind of a scenario? How do you solve this kind of a programming question? For that sake, we are including stack and queues in order to be sure that when you are attempting any interview, when they ask you the common question, the commonly asked question, if you are going for any automation interviews, can you check whether the parentheses are having a proper starting and ending braces? So that is one of the most commonly asked questions when you want to go as an HDT role, when you want to switch as an automation engineer. This is one of the commonly asked questions because the first round of interview when you're going for any SDET or any QA profile these days, the first round will be your Java interview along with your QA profile, along with your QA activities, like what are the different kinds of best practices you have applied in testing in your project. So inheritance and interfaces. What do you mean by this inheritance and interfaces? So we'll be discussing what is inheritance, what is the purpose of super keyword, what is interface, what are the different types of interfaces, what is the use of super keyword, what are the different types of inheritance, what are the different types of interfaces. We will also discuss what is abstraction here. And we'll be discussing in detail what is lambdas, what is streams, what are the Lombok expressions that we can use in our day-to-day life, because lambdas or streams are one of the go-to topics in the current situation, not only for interview purpose, but also in your day-to-day activities. And different file operations. How do we write the data to the file? How do we read the data from the file? How do we copy the file from one location to another location? What are the different file functions? We can see all these contents in detail. And also we are trying to discuss how do we write the object to a file? How do we read the object from a file? There's something called as data input stream, data object, output stream. We'll be discussing all these things in order to make our objects persistent. If you don't know what is objects, what is this and all, don't worry. We will be discussing step by step and each and every word. And we will also be discussing what is exception handling, try catch block, purpose of finally block, multiple catch blocks with one try block, what is checked versus unchecked exceptions, compile time versus runtime exceptions, how do we handle the errors at the runtime. We'll be see what is ducking an exception, what is rethrowing an exception. We'll be seeing all these things during the exception handling. Then we will also be covering a bit of generic concepts because sometimes in your reusable methods, you might have to implement some kind of a generics. So in that case, what we can say is what is the wildcard character, what is upper bound, lower bound. We can see all these concepts. It's just to enhance our Java knowledge. Whenever you are creating some reusable methods with in terms of framework design, having a knowledge of generics is very very much essential. And we'll also be covering this records, optionals. There's a new concept called as sealed inheritance and sealed interfaces. So these are some small topics which are very much essential when you're working with the latest versions of Java. And also we'll be providing you with more programming questions, more multiple choice questions. We'll be also providing a lot of programming questions for you to practice so that you can have a confidence on the Java subject that we are discussing, on the core Java concepts that we are discussing. Is this clear, guys? Any doubts?
Sir, in the interview for API testing, do they also ask about Selenium?
Well, it depends on the JD, Rahul, because every company wants API testing. It all depends on the JD. But whatever it is, API testing or Selenium, the first they start with is the core Java.
Yes.
Okay. It depends on JD, Rahul, again, because if there is Selenium, API testing is bound to be there. API testing is like a mandate now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. Anything else, guys? Any doubts with respect to core Java?
Yes, the core duration.
Well, I'm not yet done with the topics. Once that is done, we will discuss the course duration. Okay.
So, Rahul, will you provide the interview questions also?
Sorry.
So you will provide the interview questions also.
Well, I'll show you. After the course contents are completed, I will tell you how we go through the class on a regular, everyday basis. Okay.
Okay.
So, what is API testing? API testing, according to me, is we are powering the connected world. If we discuss what is API and all about, API helps us connect us to different other third-party applications or the different third-party servers or different databases across the globe that we have connected. So that is why I believe API testing is like powering the connected world. That is why it is so important. And even 95% of the companies are using API as a backend communication mechanism. So we will see what is API testing, what is the client server architecture, why do we need API testing, what is the difference between offline versus online APIs, what are the different types of APIs, API testing techniques, different types of web services, HTTP methods and its purpose, what are the different status codes that we have, and we'll also discuss what is Postman tool, why installation of Postman tool. We will be giving you a detailed walkthrough of the Postman tool. What is Postman workspace? What is collections? What is monitors? How do we perform different API requests for different HTTP methods? How do we import collections from Swagger? What are the different variables in Postman? Local variables, global variables, environment, data variables, and collection variables. And we'll also be discussing some JavaScript concepts with respect to Postman. Like some people may not be that confident with JavaScript, but don't worry, we'll be taking a session or two to help you understand what are the different JavaScript concepts, what is used, and how do we use in Postman. We'll also discuss all these things. We'll also be understanding what is a curl and what is the purpose of it. How do we script the test cases using the pre and post script tab? How do we parse the JSON and XML data? We'll also be discussing different chai.js assertions to validate the endpoints. How do we run the collections manually and also using Postman CLI? What is a Newman library? How do we can generate different kinds of Newman reports? How do we validate the JSON schema? Request chaining. How do we do a data-driven testing using CSV and JSON file? How do we integrate this Postman collections with Jenkins and Docker? So we'll also be spending a lot of time on understanding what is containerization. Before that, what is virtualization? Before that, you need to understand why virtualization has come into picture. So when I said Docker, I just don't go and there install the Docker, create image. That is not the point. The point we here to explain is why Docker. What is containerization? What is virtualization? If you understand all these terminologies, then you will have the interest of understanding what is Docker. Then this rest assured concepts, BDD versus non-BDD approach, different HTTP methods, how do you pass the request payload using the JSON payload, raw format, external file, POJO, multi-part request, Hamcrest validations, request and response logging filters. Advanced rest assured topics like spec builders, query parameters, form parameters, path parameters, parsing JSON and XML data, JSON schema validators, Jackson libraries, JVM expressions. How do we integrate with Allure and extend reports? How do we use data-driven testing using CSV, Excel, and JSON? What are the different types of authentication? One is basic, one is digest, bearer, and OAuth2. We'll be discussing one API endpoint which uses OAuth2 authentication. Got it? And we'll be discussing some fundamentals about karate. What is the difference between karate versus rest assured? What are the different HTTP methods? How do we prepare the feature files, data-driven testing? What are the different path parameters, query parameters, form parameters, which I forgot to mention previously, that we'll be discussing path parameters, form parameters, query parameters, and what is it all about? The response validations, the fuzzy matchers, how do we read the data from external files? What is this karate config.js file? Clear? Is this clear? Any doubts? And along with this, we'll also be discussing what are the different TestNG fundamentals for designing this API testing framework. Along with that, we'll be discussing Jenkins, Docker, and Git, along with the existing plan. Yeah, the course will be for 2 months, 2 to 2.5 months, because we need to cover Java, we need to cover Postman, we need to cover Rest Assured, we need to cover karate concepts also.
Sir, will you be taking some projects on this?
Well, if you see, we will be we'll be taking a single endpoint for API testing. We'll be showcasing you how to design a framework. Based on that, you can work it on your endpoints and you can showcase it.
Okay.
Because API testing, one thing you need to understand is whatever we discuss in the class, you need to apply the same if you are working on any API based project in your company. First thing. Second thing is API testing varies from project to project. That is not something like that is fixated. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what are the different Git and SQL concepts that we will be covering? So we'll be discussing what is Git, what is the purpose of Git, difference between Git and GitHub, flowchart of Git, different tools that support Git apart from GitHub, performing Git commands via CMD, Git commands via IntelliJ. So we'll be seeing a dedicated sessions about what are these different Git commands, how do we do it and all these activities. And we will be using if you want to use IntelliJ to perform your GitHub actions, how can we use it? We can also see that. Then we'll be seeing what are the different SQL concepts. So you can also work with SSMS, SQL Server, Oracle. The difference between these three DBs in terms of syntax is not much of a change. 95% of the times the syntax will remain the same. So we'll be seeing what are the different CRUD operations that we can perform with the help of database. Create, update, delete, and read. So we are gonna see what are the different SQL commands like data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language, data query language. What are the meanings of this and how do we use them? So you might be having a thought in your head, why are we using database? Why do we need really database? Well, actually, if you're doing any endpoint testing or something like that, you need to have a knowledge about how is your database schema looking like, from where the data is coming up, from where the data that is being updated, how it is impacting in the UI. You need to check every part of it. For that, we need to know how do we write our own queries, because previously developed SQL developers or developers used to write the queries for it. Now the situation is like we have to write our own queries by ourselves. No team will come and support you. In case if you make a mistake while writing your query, we'll be there to fix that query. But if you want us to write the query from the scratch, we are not there because we are there. They say that always they're super busy. Got it? So as I've told you, we'll be discussing about Jenkins. We'll be understanding what is the CI, what is the CD. So CI stands for continuous integration, where developers frequently integrate their code into a shared repository. Automated tests run on each integration to ensure code quality and catch issues early. So that means what? all the developers will frequently integrate their code into the repository, and on the integrated code, we run the test to check whether the code is working properly or not. What is the CD? Automates the release process. That means whatever code changes that has been made during the CI process, we are deploying the same to the production automatically in if the test cases are passed. It reduces the time from code commit to deployment. So CI/CD stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment. So what are the tools required? So we'll be using Jenkins, JDK, Docker, Apache Maven. And AWS is something this time we are planning to cover also, but I will have to check certain criteria before covering the AWS part. Clear? AWS and GitHub Actions is something I have to check from my end, how well we can cover it. Okay. I'm just checking some feasibility points, and if that is okay, we will also try to cover either AWS or GitHub Actions. So when you're building a pipeline, the 4 steps that we follow is setup of Jenkins tool. How do we download and set up the related plugins related to the build? How do we configure the build via the Git repo? How do we trigger the pipelines and observe the logs? So we'll be seeing all these things, guys. Clear?
Yes.
And we'll also be seeing some JDBC concepts, like what is mean by JDBC. JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity, which allows you to connect to interact with databases. It provides methods for querying and updating the data in a database using SQL commands. It's just like how do you connect your database with how do you connect Java and database? And it's essential for you to know because it's not only about fetching the data from the DB, there's something called as storing your results in the database. That is a new gen of automation testing where you need to store your execution results in the database so that if anyone wants to prepare a dashboard of it, they can see the dashboard and they can validate and see whether it is working properly or not. Clear? I hope this is clear.
Yes, clear.
So these are the different topics that we are going to cover in this endpoint testing. And I know there are a lot of topics to cover, and we try to cover within 2 to 2.5 months. So now if you have any questions, please let me know, guys.
Yeah, so I have a query now. So after completion this course, so how much experience we can showcase that?
With API testing,
Yes, in API testing.
yeah, you can put around 3 years of experience with respect to API testing. But again, Shimal, that comes with practice. If you are practicing, if you are able to catch up, and if you are able to come out with more issues, more scenarios, then 3 years of experience should be absolutely fine. Because you're learning Java, you're learning Postman, and the moment you start including Postman in your profile, it looks like an X factor for you.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
It again comes with your practice. Whatever we are
Sure.
trying to do, we'll do it. We are giving our best more than the best, but ultimately it's your practice.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, Pawan here. Actually, like as a non-testing background, is it suggestible to learn like UI, like Selenium with Java, or this API testing, like to enter into the job market at first?
Well, you need to have everything, Pavan, because since you're entering into the market for the first time, I recommend you to have all the things because only API testing means will be more on the business side. So you should make yourself profile more flexible towards UI and API both.
Okay, yeah, understood. Yeah.
I'm just giving you options so that your profile gets shortlisted quickly.
Okay, okay, yeah, got it.
And if you see this slide, this is the class tracker that we maintain for that I'm maintaining for the previous running batch. So if you see here, we maintain which day, which topic we have discussed and all these things. And we also provide with a weekly assignment links. Yeah, since this class batch has started 2 weeks, we'll also provide a lot of weekly assignments, and also we'll be providing with a lot of MCQs, so that right after the class, You can revise the concepts in the form of an MCQ concept. Clear? You will have to solve all these questions by yourself. Yeah. And you'll also be having some coding assignments for each and every topic that you need to solve. So there's a ton of assignments that you can have. You can solve it. A lot of MCQs so that you'll be fundamentally strong with your concepts, and programming questions so that you can apply the concepts into the question. Okay. And also every alternate Saturday, that means this Saturday we are doing with the section. That means next to next Saturday, we'll have data structures and algorithm session where we discuss about different sorting techniques, different searching questions, different kinds of complicated programming questions that you face in the interview. So we'll be discussing all those things on every alternate Saturday. So this is how we maintain the class tracking. This is how we give the assignments, and topic wise the assignments will be enabled. Yeah. And weekly wise we'll be sharing you some questions based on the topics that we have covered in that particular week. Clear? I hope I've answered your questions with respect to assignment. Great. Any doubts, guys?
Are you also covering?
Go ahead, right. Go ahead.
Yeah, are you? I just seen in the course content related to GraphQL also. Are you
Yeah,
covering?
GraphQL is also part of the course, which I forgot to mention. GraphQL will be taking around 2 sessions where we explain what is GraphQL, how we use the mutation part and all. And when you use GraphQL with rest assured, it's still under development progress, but whatever is there, we will showcase you the GraphQL part also. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Dilshad, go ahead.
Oh, that's what I was just clicking with the GraphQL part.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
then
we
the
forgot to
course will
mention.
be REST API, right? They were in the course B and GraphQL part you will be covering, right?
GraphQL I'll be covering. I mentioned to make a point in the slides. That is my mistake. I will correct my slides.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anything
Sir.
else, guys? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I want to ask that how important is Postman as compared to rest assured with job
Well,
point of
I'll
view?
tell you one scenario. If your project of API endpoint testing is not that big, but they still ask you to build some sort of a mini framework in mini framework, then you have to use Postman. Got it? If the endpoint API testing is not that of a huge thing in your project, then they'll ask you to automate all the things using Postman, because the size of my API testing is very small, right?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
API testing is something, it differs from project to project, not company to company.
Yes.
Clear?
Yes, sir. And sir, will you be taking SOAP APIs?
SOAP is a legacy-based applications. Anyways, I'll take one SOAP UPI, SOAP UI, and I'll try to explain in Postman and as well as using REST Assured. But that is not much of a deal when you're looking to switch jobs, because Postman still supports the REST Assured libraries. If I'm being honest with you, using the REST Assured, we can automate SOAP API also. Because one of my last projects, there was a client requesting us to automate SOAP APIs, and we did it. We'll do one thing. We'll take I'll spend some half an hour on the SOAP UI, and I'll tell you how to automate a SOAP UI using Postman as well as this rest assured. Just make a note of it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But that's legacy, that's outdated. So very rarest of the rarest companies use SOAP. Nowadays, everyone is using REST, and some are using GraphQL. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Anything else, guys?
Be covering Cucumber using TestNG here.
Sorry, Rohit, that API REST assured API testing framework will be made using TestNG, and Karate obviously you need to use the Cucumber libraries. And always, whenever you're building a REST assured framework, using TestNG is the right practice. Using BDD Cucumber for REST assured API testing is something that is not at all acceptable, because the steps will not be provided by any BA or someone for the API testing. We have to write the steps by ourselves. Again, that is not a good practice for API testing. The karate, it's supposed BDD because the main aim for karate, as per the tool promotion, they say zero coding automation. Okay. If you want to do zero coding, then you have to go with the Cucumber BDD style. But if you are using with Rest Assure, I recommend you to go with Test Engine. Got it, Rohit?
Yes, Rahul. Thank
Anything else, guys?
Rahul, so as related to the framework part, so we'll be doing one complete project, right? Like from the API project, the framework on this.
Yeah, we'll be seeing how do we segregate the components, how do we use the spec builders, how do we call them in a generic pattern so that you'll understand how do you build a framework by yourself. Because the thing with APIs, I'm going to tell you, whatever payloads we are using will be different for different projects. So you need to be in a capacity to prepare your own POJOs or your own classes according to the project requirement. Got it?
Okay.
Great. So couple of minutes more, guys. Couple of minutes more, guys.
Rahul, I have one query actually. So why we are using the karate framework? Actually, we are using the rest assured and the test engine framework, right?
Well, I'll tell you my experience when I had given a corporate training to a couple of MNCs. They were also focusing on karate framework parallelly because of some zero coding testing and all. So we decided like let us include. We are not going in depth. We will not go to the core of karate, but we will give you the necessary essentials that are required for you to survive in the market. Because rest assured, many people have. Now Postman is going to be a X factor, and if you add karate, it will be more of a X factor. If you are going for a more of a MNC, because I know a couple of personally I know a couple of MNCs which I don't want to name it, and they're still using karate for their day-to-day API testing activities.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So in the JDs of some companies, it is written that we should know Docker and Kubernetes.
Docker we are
So
covering. Kubernetes is something, see, Kubernetes is not a mandatory thing. Kubernetes is more like management, all the Docker images and Docker chains and all. So Kubernetes will be a slightly a different subject, and Docker itself is a big subject. Still, we are taking it up. Kubernetes will be a different ball game. Okay.
okay. Yes.
Okay. Docker we are covering anyway. Okay.
Yes.
So that's it, guys. No more questions, no more queries.
Do we cover
Okay.
anything related to the UI automation here, Rahul?
No. I mean, I mean, as of now, no, but we'll let you know, brother. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, guys. Then, if no one has no doubt, yeah, Padmaja, go ahead. So, if you, Padmaja, if you're speaking, you're not audible to me. Okay.
Yeah, Rahul, the daily timing will be what? 8 to
Same
9
time,
o'clock?
8 to 9 p.m. IST.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys. If no one has no doubts, then we can connect in the. No, no, no. Performance testing won't be there. This is not nothing related to performance testing, Padmaja. Okay. Performance testing will be a separate journey altogether. Yeah. So if no one has no doubts, no questions, then we can connect. Yeah, Shunu.
So class would be Monday to Friday,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah, Monday to Friday. Yeah, same timings.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we'll catch up tomorrow in the next session, and we'll be directly jumping into the tools, installations, and all those topics. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.